You're on.
This is Senate Transportation Committee. We are resuming our testimony on February 6th. We have the UVM legislative report, and we have a couple of people from UVM, and if you could introduce yourselves and give a little background, and then we'll go into your report about inspections and emission testing. You're muted.
Oh, perfect. Hi. Thank you so much for having us here today. My name, for the record, is Adeline Collin.
And my name is Rhiannon Hubbard, and both of us, Adeline and I, were student researchers with the Vermont Legislative Research Service last semester.
The report we're presenting today was completed in response from a request from Representative Larry Labor. And in his original question, he asked us how many states have discontinued annual motor vehicle inspections, and given safety concerns, how many states conduct emissions-only testing and how frequently. And to answer that, we reviewed all 50 state safety and emissions inspections laws using state statutes, administrative rules, and information from state agency websites. For each state, we recorded whether inspections were annual or biennial, and whether they were statewide or county-specific, and whether the state required safety inspections, emissions testings, both, or neither. We also noted variations such as new vehicle exemption periods and model year cutoffs when that information was available. Our research focused strictly on what each state requires, meaning like the structure and frequency of their inspection programs, and rather than the policy rationales behind those laws or their effectiveness. And I wanted to clarify for the committee that we completed this report on November 19th, so before the beginning of the 2026 legislative session.
And I'll be going into kind of the content of the report now. Starting with safety inspections, specifically, we found that 17 states required routine passenger vehicle safety inspections. 9 of those states were annual requirements, and 8 of those states were biennial, so every 2 years. Among those 17 states, the New England states are Vermont, Massachusetts, Maine, and at the time, New Hampshire, and then Rhode Island was the only biennial state with biennial requirements. And then in terms of emissions inspections, we found that 27 states have some sort of vehicle emissions testing requirements. 10 of those states are annual, 15 of those states are biennial. Colorado was kind of an interesting and unique case. They had some legislation that took into account what year the vehicle was made and what county it was registered under that made it either biennial or annual. And then New Hampshire, of course, makes it 27 with their requirements kind of changing at the beginning of this year. Another detail that we found relevant to emissions inspections was that a lot of states had emissions testing requirements only in certain counties that were in or surrounding like metropolitan areas and like hubs. So whether that's a state like New York or Colorado or like Texas, those emissions inspection requirements varied based on the location. And then under the umbrella of like no recurring vehicle inspection laws, 5 states only had inspection laws that were written out as law enforcement being permitted to conduct roadside vehicle inspections if they suspected a vehicle on the road of malfunctioning or something of that sort. And then 10 states had no emissions or safety inspection requirement laws at all. With 5 of those states, we found discontinuing their laws in the past 26 years since 2000.
Yes. So in overall patterns we found was New England was the region in the US with the most stringent vehicle inspection laws, particularly Vermont, Maine, and Massachusetts all have annual vehicle safety inspections, and Rhode Island with biennial. And of the states that do not have any safety or emissions requirements, they're primarily located in the southern and upper Midwest in the plain regions of the US, which are amongst like the least populated in the US. So that really encapsulates the entirety of our report. And we again wanted to thank you so much for this opportunity, and we are open to questions.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Well, thank you both so much. I'm a UVM alumni, so I'm really grateful that you have the Legislative Research Service, and I've used it myself. And I'm happy to hear that I had not known what representative had actually requested this report. So I appreciate knowing that it came from Representative Larry Labor, making the interest in this topic bipartisan. So I have one question, which is your report is very detailed and short. So I appreciate the succinctness of it. But I'm wondering if you had any information about when states so you have a list on page 4 of states that require biannual emissions testing. And I'm wondering if you have any insight into if they started out as annual and moved to biannual, or if they had always had their programs be biannual. And if you don't know the answer now, that's fine. We can also, you've got a ton of sources, so it's definitely somewhere in your sources.
Yeah, that's a good question and one I'm not sure the answer to.
Yeah,
But we could definitely like look into that and
we'd be
get
happy to send a follow-up. Yeah.
And did you find any trends have any states added safety inspection requirements, or is the trend that they're taking them or moving them back? They're moving away from them. Have any states been newly added to the list, essentially?
I have a few notes about that. A lot of the emissions testing legislation came from like the Clean Air Act in 1990. So when that became kind of like the federal, when that came down from the federal level, that's when a lot of these states started making them. Like we said, 5 states from 2000 have kind of redacted them. I'm not sure if that's like implies a trend of any sort, but we didn't find that they were adding any in recently, but I don't know if
Yeah, I would have to agree with what you said.
Great. Yeah, thank you. That's very helpful.
Yes, of course.
Thanks.
Oh,
So just hi, thank you so much. It's great to see you and appreciate your work. Did you look at all at crash data or anything that might correlate with inspections? You know, some folks think that inspections would lead to safer vehicles, so there might be different sorts of crash data.
Yeah, for sure. That is like the common concern with the safety inspections. Again, we did not look into too deeply the policy rationales behind why safety inspections were annual or biennial or not at all. But I mean,
yeah, we didn't really compile any data on.
we more so looked at state agency websites and government entities like the DMV or the state equivalent to a DMV of what like the most recent update is on their legislative requirements for safety and emissions testing.
Okay, if you ever come around and notice any crash data, that would be helpful.
We'd
Thank
be more
you.
than happy to look into that. And if we come up with anything of significance, then share that with the committee assistant to give to the chair.
Perfect, thank you.
Yes, you're welcome.
this is really helpful. And I don't see any other hands up around the room, but this is very well done. And thank you very much for coming and presenting this to us.
Yes,
Thank you so much for having us.
yes, thank you.
We're in the middle of looking at all of this, and this is really good information for us.
Perfect.
Yes, I hope it helps 211 get on its way.
We'll
It
be
does
following
help.
along.
Yes, we will.
Thank you very much.
Thank you so much
Yes.
for the opportunity.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.
And I think we're done for the day.